Hi everyone, you're welcome to another episode of the Carefully Created Podcast with Busola. Thank you so much for being a part of this podcast. Thank you for your love and your support so far. And if you're new here, you're most definitely welcome. So with this video, we know what to do. Please like, share, subscribe, and join the family. Thank you. So on today's episode, I will be sharing on how the Lord has been helping me to conquer imposter syndrome. Yes, imposter syndrome. That feeling that you feel when you get into a new level or into a new space and you feel as if you're not the best person who should be managing that space. Over the years in my life, or most especially with my career, I've always felt like every time I got to a new level, it almost always felt like, am I the best person to be doing this? It almost felt like, I'm saying felt because, like I said, the Lord is working on me and working with me to overcome it. And I feel like at this stage, most recently, I have entered into a space where I didn't feel like I didn't belong in that room. So I'm grateful for that, and that's why I believe that I should share this as well to help anyone who might be going through the same thing. So with imposter syndrome, there's so many times where you just feel like, am I the best person to be doing this? Am I the best person to handle this situation or this task or to take on this job? There are so many things that and it comes in different. Imposter syndrome comes in different. It comes in different dimensions, in different phases, right? But the thing that is usually common, the common thread, is that you always feel incapable, and it will not matter that you are the most qualified. You will somehow always feel like, I feel like I'm not qualified. I feel like it's not good enough. And it's all of those debilitating thoughts that sometimes cramps you and almost actually makes you unable to perform the task. But thank God that every time I felt those thoughts or those thoughts came up, like I always say, I take it back to God to say, Lord, this is how I'm feeling about this thing. I don't want to feel like this. Please help me. And then every single time I have felt that, He has helped me walk through it. Now, one of the Bible characters that I admire a lot is a man called Moses. That guy knew how to throw hands. Moses the fighter. But then that's not the reason why I like him, because say no to violence, right? But one of the things that I admire about Moses was the transformation of his life from the guy who thought that he owned the world and was beating up people to death, to the guy who became the shepherd in Midian, and to the guy who met God in a burning bush, and then God started telling him, oh, you know what, see, I've been looking forward to get your attention, guy. We're going to, the ultimate prison break experience. We're going to go to Egypt. We're going to get my people out of Pharaoh's claws. And you guys started talking plenty. I'm Miss Tamara. They will not believe that you sent me. These people, can you come? And the funny thing about God is, He didn't say, okay, guy, this is the plan that I have. Let's do this. The first question He asked him was, what's in your hands? I mean, if I was Moses, I'd have been like, how does that relate to what I'm telling you? Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you understand that I'm saying that this thing that you're sending me is big? You're asking me what is in my hands. But that was the question that God asked him. Very simple question. What is in your hands? And this usually is the question that God asks us every time we come to Him and say, hey, God, I've just gotten this job, or I've just started this business, or I've just completely transitioned to a new career path, or I have just entered into ministry, and it looks like how would the members come, or how do we go for this kingdom advancement that you have called us to? How do we actually advance the kingdom? What do we do? Or this new job, am I skillful enough, right? Or this new business, do I have enough resources, capital, human, and every resource that I need to execute excellently? And so while we are lamenting to God about it, it almost always seems like He asks us, what is in your hands? And for Moses at the time, it was a rod. And with that rod, he turned it, and God just told him, you know what, drop it on the ground. This same rod turned into a serpent. This same rod parted the Red Sea. This same rod turned water to blood. This same rod did so many amazing things that I am sure that Moses did not in his wildest imaginations conjure or think about. But that's really how it is. I remember the last time I felt imposter syndrome, it was for a job that I felt like, oh my goodness, I'd just been appointed as CEO of a particular organization, and I felt like, hey, these are very big shoes to fill. Am I the best person to be filling these shoes? And the Lord told me, look at all the experiences that I have taken you through. Look at the teachers that I have given you over the years. And look at the things that they have taught you. Look at the path that you have come through. And I will use all of this. Number one, I will fill those shoes and put your legs on my legs and we'll walk through them together. So submit that to me. Now submit all the experiences that you've had over the years to me, and let's walk through this together. And by the time I was leaving that role to come into the next role, I was getting the offer to become a partner in that organization. It wasn't, and like the Bible says in Isaiah, in Psalm 44, it wasn't by my hands. In fact, it was really the right hand of the Lord, because God was a favor to me. It was God that really helped me through it. So it's not. So every time those thoughts come to you that I don't feel qualified, I don't feel skillful enough, I don't feel like I can handle this, I feel like this is when those thoughts start to overwhelm you, remember the one who is with you on the journey, and go back to Him to say, see, you are bringing me into this new room, you are bringing me into this next level, and I might not feel qualified enough, but will you help me? And most often than not, He will ask you what is in your hands, because He knows that what He has given you, no matter how small or minute it seems, it's usually a good starting point. It's usually a good place to start, right? So I'll ask you today, what is in your hands? For David, it was catapults. They say it's sling and stone, but it was really just catapults. And he brought down a giant and ultimately became king. There are times that when you feel like, oh, I need to get this, I need to get that, I need to. Saul said, you know what, this guy, you're a small boy. How can you tell me that you want to take down these giants? And then they gave him spear and spade and shield and the entire 9 yards. The guy was like, no, this is not going to work. Let me use what is in my hands. With this thing that has been in my hands, I've taken down the lion. With this thing that was in my hands, I took down the bear. So this thing in my hands will help me take down Goliath. So that thing that looks like Goliath and is ginormous, what is in your hands is enough. It's a good starting point. And I'm saying starting point because at the end of the day, yes, the sling killed Goliath, but he had to use Goliath's spear to cut it. So you would of course have to develop yourself. You will of course have to become better. Don't say, Okpa Obusola said that what is in your hands is good enough. Yeah, please hear me. What is in your hands is a good starting point. So every time those thoughts come and you start to feel imposter syndrome, remember that, number one, for you to be in that room, for you to have gotten there, whoever placed you there thought that you could do it, right? You're not too small to handle that. It's not too big for you. It is never too big for you, because what is in your hands will help you to navigate that path and conquer imposter syndrome and excel brilliantly in whatever you are called to do. Remember, God always takes the seemingly foolish things, the seemingly little things. He uses those things to confound the wise and the big things, right? So it might look like what I have is small, but look at the rod of Moses. Who would have known that one stick will part the Red Sea? Who would have known that one stick will turn River Nile to blood? For what is in your hands is always good enough. So thank you for being a part of the podcast today. Remember to take that step back to say, okay, Lord, I am in this new level, in this new space, in this new job, in this new business. In fact, I am expanding my business. I am starting a new arm. I am doing something new, and it feels like what I have is little. But I thank you for what I have in my hands, because I know that as I submit it to you, you will make it so impactful that it will literally turn the world upside down for good. Right? So I trust that you have been blessed by this podcast today. Thank you so much for being a part of the podcast. Thank you for always joining. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your support so far. Please like, please share, please subscribe. And if you have learned anything over the years in overcoming imposter syndrome, please also share in the comment section. I would like to learn from you as well. I always say this, and I'm not, it's not a joke. I literally read the comments to also learn. Remember, on the Carefully Created podcast, it's my journey as well as yours, because the things that God is helping me to learn on this journey, I'm also impacting to anyone who is probably going through the same, or who might go through something like that in the future and would have a key in their hands to overcome that. So thank you for being a part of my journey. Thank you for being a part of the podcast, and for being carefully created like me. So God bless you. Have an amazing rest of your day.